Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So, I have decided to focus on planetary influences in relation to the tarot. Last year, I went through all 12 signs. And what I did was, if you look in my Tarot Astrology playlist, I did a breakdown of the signs from Aries all the way to Pisces, and went into their qualities, cardinal, fixed immutability. Also discussed a little bit about their element, about the elemental influence: fire, air, earth, water, and also the planets. And I gave like a brief overview of each of these signs, and also brought up the houses that these some of these signs reside in, or all these signs reside in, and also the planets that influence these signs. So what I've decided to do is I want to flip things around a little bit, and in the next upcoming 10 videos, I want to focus on the traditional planets. And being that we are in the month of Cancer, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So I'm going to start with this month from Cancer, and the next coming months. I will have to skip some because I'm going through 10 planets, so there's going to be 2 months where there's not going to be any planetary reference, because there are 2 planets that double rule a sign. So we have Scorpio, that is ruled by Mars and Pluto, and then we also have Pisces. Pisces is seen as Neptune and Jupiter. Actually, there's a third one, and then of course Aquarius, which is seen as Saturn and Uranus. So when I get to those planets, I will probably be only going in the order of the traditional planet, the original planet that was placed with that sign. So with Aquarius, I will be looking at the planet of Uranus assigned to it, because it is also Saturn, but Saturn is associated with Capricorn, and I will talk about Saturn in the month of December. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So we're going to go through all these planets, but again, I'm going to focus on the energy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick overview of each planet in its sign. So we have here Moon in Cancer. I'm going to do Moon in Leo, Moon in Virgo, so on and so forth. I'm not going to do readings, but I'm just going to give an overview of the influence of when the moon is in these other signs. So we have the order here of the speed of these planets. So we have the sun, obviously, which we're closest to, and then its reflector after the sun is the moon. The moon reflects the energy of the sun. We see it in its full moon state, which we did the other night. And then we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn. Okay, this is the speed. So we're going from fastest to slowest. Okay, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay, so I'm going to talk about those planetary influences and the tarot cards associated, and also the houses. I'm not going to go too much with the house information, but just tie in the space of each of the houses and its planetary rulership, and how it is associated with these signs, and also in relation to the tarot. So as I mentioned a few moments ago, we have our moon card, and the moon is the reflection of the sun. This is going to be pretty straightforward, so this is just to help people to understand. the relationship between the planets and the signs. So when we're in this full moon state, which we were, we see the brightness. Okay, we see that the moon reflecting the sun. In the new moon stage, the moon is blocked, so we do not see the sun. It's completely black, but the energy is still there. So with the sun is our exterior self. Okay, what the book looks like up front cover. It's the truth. It's what we see in reality. Now the moon, this is what's going on inside. Okay, it's emotional. It is intuitive. It's energy that can emotionally, intuitively awaken us, jar us, deceive us, but also allows us to do some searching emotionally, and also in our emotional psyche, our makeup, and how we use this energy in connection to other people, how we build the relationship. The moon is about the inner relationship of ourselves, and how that inner relationship is connected with other people. Now, within the tarot, we have some cards that are associated with the moon. The moon is also associated with the sign of Pisces. I will talk about that in a little bit. But in the tarot, I got two cards just so you could see two different depictions. You see the High Priestess. Okay, actually it's probably best if I do this one by one. So we have here our High Priestess. Lightly veiled, but still able to see in. You see the triple moon up on the crown, showing that's where our sense of enlightenment is coming from within. Seated on a pedestal of just water, inside a cave. This is our inner realm. This moment of emotional stillness. Here's the other interpretation, more contemporary. We have the eyes. And also, very interesting, I don't see it here, hands are more relaxed. Emotional, spiritual contentment. But here, fingers are in a position of holding. And it's like an arrow directing this energy, getting ready to take the knowledge that we've attained. I'll move in here closer so you can see it. There you go. Arrow right here. How are we going to use the insight? Where are we going to place it? Where is it going to be of great service for us? Okay. And we have the eyes here, very intuitive. Our third eye energy. So this is all feminine energy. Okay. Sensitivity, receptivity. This is very important for the sign of Cancer as well as for Pisces. Okay. The moon is also associated in the 4th house. It's since the moon is under is an influence with Cancer, which is the 4th house sign. And so with the 4th house, we're seeing this energy, very feminine, maternal energy. And it's going into our family roots. It's going into our upbringing as children, how we were influenced as kids in the 4th house. Influences from our, in particular, our parents, but our mom, our mother, the feminine energy, the matriarch, okay? The influences that we had when living at home. This is what we get here in our 4th house. So when there are other signs and planets that come into this 4th house, depending on their influences and how they're placed, will determine the energy, the activity that took place, or that can take place or currently taking place in that 4th house. Okay, so this is all about receptivity. Okay, our influences that shaped us internally when we were younger. Okay, and that's where we get the moon influence of the priestess here. If in the 4th house we have energy where it's not very intuitive, we may have some challenges. We may not have had a strong maternal upbringing or some challenges, and we could see that in the houses based on the other planets and signs and where they are in that house. Okay, so I'm going to show you this here. Got the nest with the eggs, the comfort, the protectiveness that we get here with Cancer. Moving more introvert, more inward, being that introvert. So when our moon goes through these different signs, okay, we were in Capricorn just a few days ago, and we moved into Aquarius as of the date of this recording, July 4th. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through all the signs and just speak very briefly about the influences of the moon when it is in each of these signs. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here. No, I'll do it like this. I think it's easier. So with our moon in Cancer, this is where it's naturally placed. If your moon is in Cancer, we have a very caring and protective nature of this sign. Okay, and I do have some surprise cards behind each of these signs here. Okay, so with Cancer, we do see the shell. Okay, they do have a place, they being Cancer, they have a place to return to. And then make sure if there's that moment of needing to be more inward, that they are not bothered. They need the time to be by themselves, to either do self-care or to feel through a situation that may have come to them that has become a little bit more challenging. But regardless of that, Cancer's strong shell on the outside, they may come across cold and not very very emotive, but inside they're very soft. You have to reach that spot within them. And that takes a lot of trust with Cancer. You know, they really have to get to know you and feel comfortable to open up to you. And I have to say, with the few Cancers that I've met, it's actually an honor when they open up to you, because they're putting that trust in you, and they're coming out of their shell to see how they can be of assistance. That moon in Cancer. So what we get here, sign that's associated with Cancer, is we got the Chariot. And I want to show two versions of this because I was pretty much well torn as to which deck to show the Cancer or the Chariot attributes, or the major arcana attributes. So the Chariot is seen as, you know, making choices, but taking control, taking charge, because we see the crab, which is the creature associated with Cancer. And if you've ever seen a crab walk, it walks sideways. It walks in such an awkward manner. It doesn't go straight, it doesn't go back, it just goes sideways. So it kind of has its own way of not being direct. It eventually takes the path that it needs to, and it will get there, but in its own way. And so we also have our spiral here. Yin-yang snake. So we're seeing this balance of opposite energies as we see here. But what's happening is we need to take control. We need to have that inner strength to make that happen. And here with the Guild Tarot, we usually at times see the Chariot where no one's taking control of the reins. Usually the reins are not even in showing in the card of the Chariot, but here we're starting to see momentum. We're seeing the decision to move forward. The wheels are spinning. We're seeing some action taking place. This is about taking control. So with that moon in Cancer, okay, the nurturing, the caring aspect that we see of that sign, and with its emphasis of the moon energy, the way they take control of themselves is by being there. The way they get the willpower is of being of support to other people. All right, so next, when we have the moon in Leo, okay, so we have conflicting elements because we have the moon, water, Leo, fire, okay? But what's happening here is Leo is of creativity. They are very self-expressive. They are committed in their projects, whether the project is themselves or something that they're working on, but it is of a creative endeavor. They are, I always say this, they have a natural magnetism. So with this moon, we're seeing the emotional interpretation of Leo. So that energy that we're seeing, because Leo is ruled by the sun, that energy that we see of Leo being expressed outwardly, we're also seeing it inside. They are very proud in whatever they are working in, working for, or working on themselves, okay? they are the first to think about for the most part. They think about themselves first. And that gives a sense of maybe being self-centered, but the self-centered is coming from the heart. They rule the heart. So that aspect of Leo can be misunderstood because of that. So with Leo, we get strength. I'm going to show this card here because this is the image that a lot of people tend to be, well, they're most familiar with. We usually see a figure with the lion, strength, primal instincts, but taking control. Taming any energy that is out of control. We usually see feminine energy here coming in, and the reason why some people may disagree, but I think the feminine energy is the calm energy, the intuitiveness that we see here, that is trusting between this individual and the lion there. Okay, so Moon in Leo, strength. The Thoth interpretation is lust. But here we see the individual riding, riding the lion, proudly raising the cup here. Remember what I was saying earlier about Leo? Leo is all about themselves. They want to have fun. So because of that sun influence of Leo, what energy we are seeing, that exuberance that we're seeing on the outside, that proudness, all of this, strong outward energy is how they're feeling inside. Sometimes it could be a little playful and a little childlike, but that's how they are. That's how Leos are. That's how they like their energy to be. Playful. They want everyone to enjoy being in their company, because they being Leos, have something to give, something to share that they're very proud and happy about, because they've worked hard to it and they believe in it. Okay, so next we have our Moon in Virgo. Okay, so with our Moon in Virgo, primarily service. Okay, Virgo is a earth sign. It is ruled by Mercury. But when we're dealing with water and earth energy, especially with a sign like Virgo, that pride that we see with Leo, because it's more external, Virgo comes more with, and I like the word that was used here, integrity. Any actions that Virgo takes comes from their best efforts. They're very detailed, they're very practical in the way that they approach things. They will go to great lengths to make sure that everything is taken care of, is in order. and make sure that those that are involved around them or with them are taken care of. Okay. And this comes very strongly with the moon energy. This is very emotional. Sometimes they put too much effort, Virgo, into things, and that's something that the sign needs to be careful with, is how much of this energy they're putting out, okay? Because it becomes more of a mental effort of getting things done, being of service to people. Okay. Now, Virgo is associated with the Hermit. So the Hermit is one that learns, is on the path of understanding. And I feel that when Virgos do the work that they do, you know, they ask questions. You know, they're the student. They're the ones that want to know and understand. And the reason why is because there's something that they want to learn along the way. This is what gives them guidance and will allow them to grow along their journey and to shape shift in so many different ways. The information that they get and what guides them along the way, and that awakening, is that light that comes from within. Here's another aspect of the Hermit. This is actually one of my favorite depictions of the Hermit. So everything that's going on externally with the Hermit, the information that they're getting, okay, they're learning. They're learning from their experience, asking the questions, doing the work. Virgo's also known about health. So there is maybe a slight eagerness to take care of the health in the best way possible. And we could see that at an emotional level when the moon is in Virgo. There's an urgency sometimes that comes with Virgo. Okay, our moon in Libra. Okay. Right off the bat, right, it's balance. Harmony, fairness, rationale. But Libra also deals with relationships. And when the moon is in Libra, Libra's air, it's a cardinal sign. They will see both sides of a situation. You know, Libra you could sort of think of as the judge. You know, they need as much information to see both sides of a situation. If they're only given one or two choices, that's not going to help Libra. Okay. They sort of take up a little bit like Virgo, where they need to really get as much information as possible that for them that will allow them to assess a situation and make the choice that they feel is appropriate. The only thing that happens is if you give way too many options to a Libra, it's not going to guide them. It's going to make them indecisive, and that's a weak point for Libra. They can be indecisive, not all the time, and that's something that needs to be balanced out. But they will see both sides. They will ask questions to make sure that they're feeling they're feeling like they're moving in the direction of getting towards an answer on something that they need to get clarity on. Okay. So, of course, it's justice. Here with justice. Okay, we have the owl, knowledge, wisdom. That's the guide for Libra. They want to understand what's going on in the situation. Normally you would see like the feather and the heart on the scales, the mind and the intellect. That's what's being weighed, how the soul is and how the mind is. How are they communicating to each other? What seems to be more of the emphasis, more of the heart, more of the mind? How can we balance both of those out? And that's where the moon in Libra comes in, is emotionally they have to, instead of thinking so much with that influence of the air element, they have to start feeling a little bit more. They have to emotionalize their thoughts so that they can find the answer that they need, or at least guidance. Okay. Moon in Scorpio. Okay, water and water. But intense. Here with the moon in Scorpio, the moon is, like I said, revealing. In its new moon phase, in its full moon phase, it is revealing. And so with Scorpio, with this influence, Mars and Pluto, but more of an emphasis more with Pluto, because Pluto is all of breaking down, tearing apart, getting to the core of things. I always think about the onion theory. You're peeling those onions, or peeling the skin of the onion back as much as you can to see what's there. Okay. When you see Scorpios, okay, they can be very intense. Just like Leo is with their heart, they're expressive outwardly, but that's what's coming from their heart. The emotional intenseness that you see with Scorpio, that's how they're feeling inside. They are revealing themselves. That's who they are. Scorpios can be secretive, but if they are ready to release, do death, as Major Arcana card is associated with Scorpio, it's full revelation. When they let go and when they reveal what's really happening in a situation and also within themselves and in the environment, they are liberated in a sense, because it's all this intensity, all this impassion that's been building up, and it's just it needs to be released, let go of. Letting go of old things, old habits, things that are no longer of service, as we have here with the Grim Reaper. In a sense, releasing the past. You could be in a situation where maybe something at work or something within yourself or in a relationship, you had enough. You know, it's like push comes to shove, and it's time to move on from that. because you know there's shifts going on. There's a shift going on with this moon in Scorpio that's just awakening all this energy. It's like, okay, the moon is revealing all of this, and more so through Scorpio. Scorpio will know, especially moon in Scorpio, that it's time, you know. It's time to make these changes for better or for worse so that you can move on. And that's where we get that influence of Pluto for that sign of Scorpio. But we will talk about Pluto when we get through these other signs. Okay, we got Sagittarius. Moon in Sagittarius. Fire and water. Okay. This is a challenge a little bit for Sagittarius, because they are fire signs are very external, because it involves movement, creativity, taking action, you know, making that first making and taking that first move. Sagittarius is a sign that does not like to be still for too long. Excuse me. So this moon, when the moon is in Sagittarius, this adventurous, explorative, also spiritual side of Sagittarius. Sagittarius has this side, if it really is connected to this part of themselves, they want to know, they want to understand. If something is a fascination to them, they will pursue it through studies. They keep, hence the arch and the arrow. They put their eye on they put their eye or the arrow in a direction, something that just moves them and excites them, and that's their focus. Okay, they're like, okay, I feel something from the situation, I'm going to go with it, and I'm just going to put my eye in this. So through this adventurous state, which is great, their focus is placed on all of that. The only problem or issue or conflict that could come with Sagittarius in doing that is that they may just stay too focused on what's going on and not seeing everything else around them. Okay? It's interesting because Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is of expansion. But for them, Sagittarius is more mind expansion. That mind expansion comes through that exploration of going to different places, doing things, challenging themselves in places that they haven't been to so that they could just have that sense of adventure. Okay, that's the Jupiter aspect. But they should also, again, stay focused on, on what their direct intent is, because if they get too Jupiter, if they get too expansive, like, they have no sense of direction. Okay, but when Sagittarius sets its eye on something, it can be very focused. So it needs to have a balance. It needs to have this temperance of opposing energies, that of what's going on in their external environment, but also what's happening inside. So here we have art for the Doth interpretation. So we're seeing the balance of energy. We got the rooster and the snake. Fiery energy versus spiritual kundalini-like energy moving upward. Okay, expansive energy. So with the moon in Sagittarius, this sense of exploration becomes very strong. The sense of wanting to know more becomes very prominent. But again, we have to balance that fiery aspect of Sagittarius. If that energy becomes too expansive, or if it becomes too focused on one thing, because we want to make sure that you are looking at everything around you when you are going on your journey, because you may bypass some scenarios that could be of great importance to you. And here is temporary. So see the balance of water and fire. It's very alchemical for Sagittarius. A mixing of opposing energies, masculine, feminine energies, silver and gold. Okay. Opposing energies and making something very, very malleable, something that you can move with, because Sagittarius is a mutable sign, something that you can mold and shape as your own, but it has to be opposing energies to get to that point. So that's where we are with the moon in Sagittarius, fire and water, balancing these different influences that we have. Okay, winding down. Capricorn, moon in Capricorn, which we were just in. Capricorn is the opposing sign for Cancer. So it's earth, Cancer is water. These are complementary elements and potential signs to work with. Because Capricorn, the moon in Capricorn, takes all this energy of being traditional and very precise in the way that we work. It's also associated with the planet Saturn, so it is aware of time. But it's also very real. You know, it's all about facts with Capricorn. And so all of this has a bit of a self-discipline with Capricorn. And so Capricorns can come across maybe aloof because of all this focus that they have towards work or towards themselves. It tends to be more work than to themselves. Capricorns are workaholics. But this moon can soften this energy for Capricorn. Okay, so we're taking that work ethic, and sometimes can come across conservative. We could take this energy and just be a little bit more connected to who we are. Okay, yes, we're working hard. Yes, we may have a certain way of doing things and whatnot, but the moon will reveal this. And I feel the moon in Capricorn can soften this energy of ambition if there's too much of it. Or depending on how it's placed in your chart, the moon can actually influence this, can make this realm of getting things done and working harder something more of inspiration. Okay, the card that we also have associated with Capricorn is the Devil. Okay. So this shows the challenge of Capricorn because it comes with challenging ourselves, not going outside the borders. We are staying within our own limits, which is fine. But we also need to move out of that sense of control. And if we don't, we just get bounded in our way of doing things. This is all about patterns. This is all about cycles that keep going on and on and on, and there's no change. And this is where you can move into the direction with the moon in Capricorn, this devil card can move to obsessiveness, addiction, because it's something that you know, it's something that you're very comfortable working with. And the devil likes that. The devil's like, I got you. What's it going to take to move out of this? Okay. So this moon, the moon in Capricorn, with this devil influence of the major arcana for Capricorn, can do one or two things. It can reveal, as I mentioned, what's going on in this situation and soften the area where you can maybe be more emotionally real and honest with yourself about what's going on. Or it can be in a sense where it's too overwhelming, and you will put yourself in a situation where you could be stuck. And that's something that we need to be careful with. Okay, because remember, the moon is revealing, but it can also be deceptive. So this moon can also be in the side of the devil card, where it could sort of entice you emotionally, have you feel like something is moving in a right direction, but it really isn't, because you're not being honest with what's going on at that time. Okay, so we have Aquarius. Moon at Aquarius, where we are right now. So we're looking at something that's just very unique. Okay, this is air, moon's water, so we have opposing elements again. But Aquarius is seen as an individual that uses their ideals and expresses them in such a way at a larger level. They work well in groups. That's how they express and grow a community of people. Always about what's going on in the world, society, making changes. If something's going on in a certain community, they would see it in a different way, and there would be, I can do something really different. And so they tend to see things out of the box. And the moon in Aquarius will emphasize this. The card that's also associated with them is the star, and the star is the healer. Almost similar to Sagittarius. Okay. The opposing sign for Aquarius, by the way, is Leo. But with this energy here, we're using healing, we're using water, we're using the feelings that we're feeling at this time with the moon in Aquarius to make better of a situation. We have the ideas, okay? We have the ideas. It's out there, but we want to utilize it in a way so that it could benefit people at in a larger manner. This is actually one of my favorite star cards. Same thing. We're taking this light. Here the individual is enveloped in this light. Well, if it's on the land, the other one's on water. It's the balance of these two worlds, these two ways of thinking. We see the reflection of the self here in the water. The reflection of the star. The idea, the concept, the change, the growth, and the healing. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So next we got Pisces. Okay, so Pisces, moon in Pisces, again, water and water. Pisces, when the moon's in Pisces, oh, is this ever such a comforting placement for Pisces, because of that watery influence. Pisces is of the subconscious. I've always stated this, and I stand by it. Pisces is the only sign that that knows itself better than anybody else. No one knows a Pisces. Pisces is the only sign where the individual knows themselves better than any other sign, because they have a natural intuitiveness. They know the unknown. Pisces is associated with Neptune as well as Jupiter, but here it's the mystery, it's the unknown. That's where they learn. That's where they thrive from. That's where they become the greatest spiritual sense of themselves. And by knowing the spiritual self is how they are seen as one of the more compassionate signs out there. Because of the Neptune influence of Pisces, they tend to lead interest more into alternative spiritual practices, meditation, witchcraft, Satanism, anything like that. Just something that's out the norm, because the deeper the knowledge, the more Pisces gets to understand themselves. So with that moon in Pisces, that's where they run. That's what fuels their energy from inside. We have the lantern here, our full moon in the horizon. My favorite card of the moon. The primal side of the self, releasing. The two realms here. The revealing, this is the inner self. This is the challenge of what's going on inside this moon in Pisces. Very intense, very intense. But a wonderful sign once you get to know them. Okay, moon in Aries. So we're going to the beginning of the astrological wheel. Okay, fire, water. Since they are initiators, they're the self-starters, Aries. This moon placement, this moon in Aries, comes from a place where, I say when the moon is in a fire sign, it tends to just soften the energy a little bit. It reveals more of the sensitive side of Aries. So I feel the moon reveals this information of the fire signs, because the fire signs are all external. We just see what's going on the outer realm, versus the inner realm. The moon really emphasizes that aspect of Aries. So Aries can be argumentative. They like challenges. And with the moon in Aries, we need to be careful of that, because that can actually raise the elevation of Aries a bit much, especially if it's a full moon in Aries. So we also need to take into consideration with all of these signs what stage the moon is in, if it's in its full moon or new moon. Full moon, I feel, would probably be a little bit more, if emotions are high for Aries for whatever reason, if there's a lot of temperament, it could aggravate that. The new moon can soften that energy. But if placed well, they will face their challenges head on. We have the confidence here with the Emperor, which is a card that is ruled by Aries, sitting upright. The sun's behind them, the Kate, the vitality, and the readiness to move forward, also known as the warrior, the Emperor, because they are ready to fight whatever situation. I don't like the word fight, but to take on, to move forward. Here is the Emperor again. They're ready to go. So with this moon in Aries, we're looking at this this forthright movement, having to get things done. Not so much needing, but having to get things done. It's very important. And this moon, depending on the phase, for all of these signs will soften or excite the energy more so. Okay, moon in Taurus. This is a beautiful placement to have, because this moon, water and earth, creates a grounding, creates a stillness that Taurus enjoys, because Taurus is all about stability. And it provides the steady, slow movement of energy, which Taurus appreciates. So anyone who has moon in Taurus probably enjoys this placement, especially when the moon goes into this sign, either full or noon, because this allows this connectiveness of self-worth, things that we have put our work into. It allows this moment to connect to it. And anything that you've done to yourself. I mentioned in Virgo the word self-care because they are associated with health. It's the same here with Taurus, but Taurus is ruled by Venus, so this self-care comes more in the sense of taking care of oneself, as in like I'm trying to think of words, walking slower, not being so aggressive. Moving in a mindful manner and not pushing oneself. Okay, the Hierophant. The Hierophant is the external part of the High Priestess. High Priestess is, again, ruled by the moon. It's what's happening inside at a spiritual level. Here, the Hierophant is the external influence that has come through experience. Meeting people, traveling, connecting with the real world, interacting with people, asking questions, exploring different aspects of the human nature. This is where the spirituality of the Hierophant comes from. That's where they gain their experience, and understanding of themselves is from other people. And that experience, here we have the priests, that they gain, they share with other people who may not have that opportunity to experience what they've experienced. I feel the Hierophant, individuals that would make good representation of the Hierophant are people who travel the world and go to different cultures. Not so much business-wise, but they're the ones that travel just to see what else is out there. That sounds a little bit more Sagittarius, but the place that the Hierophant and Taurus is coming from is they want reality. You know, they want the real thing. They're the ones that would be camping instead of staying in a hotel. But if they're camping, they're going to make it comfortable. They'll get the best of the best that they need, you know, to make how they're camping outdoors a little bit more easy. But that's, humor aside, that's what's important for the Hierophant. It's externally how they experience what's going on in their immediate environment. The moon in Taurus allows that experience to happen and grow and connect with that sign of Taurus. All right, and lastly, Gemini. Moon in Gemini. So this is all about communication, interacting with people, but in a way that you're sharing something in common. Okay. Geminis associate with the Lover's card. And that Lover's card comes in, I'm going to show the card in a moment, comes from that, the meeting of the minds, that connecting. You know, when you speak to someone and you find out you have similar interests, and you know, you're talking about things, and the conversation's just so exciting. That's Gemini working at its best. You're curious, you know, you ask questions, and if someone's open to it and willing to communicate, that's where we start seeing that energy of the Lovers taking place. Okay. It's a mutable sign. Okay. We're balancing this energy of two different minds and how they see. Geminis are not seen so much emotionally because they think first. They don't feel first like Cancer does. Gemini thinks first and then takes action. It has to make sense. It has to be, the actions that they take has to make sense to them for them to move forward. Okay. It's like, okay, this logically makes sense, so let's just go ahead and do this. You know, 1 and 1 is 2, so this should be good. But with the Gemini and the Lover's influence, we're dealing with Mercury. This connection, the moon in Gemini, I feel will allow a little bit of these emotions that are taking place at an intellectual level to be revealed, to expose what's taking place. It's taking the energy of Gemini and putting it more into the emotional side, that connecting of the heart, the partnership. So for Moon in Gemini, we're seeing this energy of communication, connectingness, and guidance from gods and goddesses to make something that could be of permanency. We have the twins associated with Gemini. It's like Geminis, if they meet their soulmate, they will know it. And when you meet your soulmate in a situation like that, with like Moon and Gemini, they become one. They merge into one. That's why we see the twins, the symbol of the twins, because there is that connection. I'm going to show you here. You got the line on the top and on the bottom. Okay, it's the meeting of two individuals coming together, and putting those lines on the top and the bottom is creating that connection. Okay, so there we have it. The influence of the moon through all the signs. So for next month, we go into the sign of Leo. Leo rules the sun. So I will discuss, I may not go into great detail like I did here, going through all the 12 signs, but I will give examples of how that sun energy can be of influence with some of the signs. Okay, so thank you for sitting through this. Any questions that you have, feel free to ask. Leave them in the comments. Also, let me know what moon sign that you are in, if you know what that is, and how do you feel about the moon being in that particular sign that you were born in. Okay, so remember, the moon is internally what's going on. It's a reflection of ourselves, of our external self, which is the sun sign. Alrighty, okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to subscribe, let people know about this channel. Thumbs up. I'll be again sharing more content coming up, but again, thank you for watching this. So again, I'm going through all the planets, all 10 planets, and giving a background of their energies in relation to some of the signs and how they relate to each other. So you have a wonderful week. Moon is in Aquarius right now, and just utilize that energy the best way that you can for the next 2.5 days. I will see you all again soon.